My boss called me the weak link in front of an entire client team after he sabotaged my work himself. That sentence didn't just sting. It rearranged the entire room. The air shifted, the blinking cursor on the shared screen froze, and for a full second, nobody on that Zoom call knew where to look. Not the clients from New York, not the creative director, not even the junior staff holding their breath with their cameras off. And I just sat there, staring at the deck I had triple-checked, wondering how everything could be so wrong. The worst part, I recognized the exact moment the mistake was born. The brief had changed. The scope had shifted. And someone had deleted the attachment that proved I wasn't the one who dropped the ball. But I took the hit in silence, the way I always did. Because that's what Emma Rivera did. I kept the peace. I stayed late. I cleaned up messes that didn't have my name on them. I remembered deadlines nobody else bothered to track. People joked that I was the glue. But glue didn't get awards. Glue didn't get promotions. Glue definitely didn't get defended in front of important clients. Mark Dalton, my manager, smiled into the camera with that effortless charm he saved for executives. "We'll regroup internally," he said smoothly. "It seems Emma may have mixed up some details. She's been overwhelmed lately." Overwhelmed. That was his favorite word. He loved using it to paint me as fragile, scattered, someone who could use more support. He didn't mention that he was the one who withheld the last-minute scope change. He didn't mention that the client had emailed him directly with updates and he never forwarded them. He didn't mention that he assigned the project to me with an outdated brief, then sat back and waited for the fallout. The call ended. People logged off, and I sat alone in the conference room, staring at the reflection of myself in the glass wall. The kind of reflection that made you wonder if everyone else saw you differently than you saw yourself. As I shut my laptop, I caught a whisper from the hallway. "I don't know what happened with Emma today," someone said, "but Mark's right. She might not be ready for more responsibility." That one hurt more than the Zoom call, because it meant the sabotage was working. Hours later, the office had mostly emptied, except for the hum of printers and the tapping of keyboards from the overworked creative team. I walked through the open floor, picking up stray printouts, preparing files for the next morning, tightening the small bolts of the department the way I always did. Quietly, invisibly, on my desk sat the promotion packet I'd been preparing for months. A neat folder with my metrics, client feedback, project outcomes, and process improvements. I touched the corner of it, the paper still warm from being printed earlier. Promotion review week, and Mark was my primary evaluator. I wasn't naive. I had already seen signs, small ones at first. Missed emails that I knew I never received. Feedback that didn't match any reality I lived in. Tasks that appeared impossible, then magically became corrected once someone else touched them. But the pattern wasn't clear yet. Not enough to confront. Not enough to understand. That clarity came 2 days later. It was 5 o'clock, and most of the office was heading to a rooftop happy hour hosted by the creative department. I didn't want to go. I wanted to crawl into bed and forget the Zoom humiliation. But showing up mattered, and I forced myself into the elevator. The rooftop buzzed with chatter, music, and the soft glow of string lights. I slipped into a quiet corner near one of the planters, sipping a soda and trying to blend in the way I always did at these things. That's when I heard Mark's voice. "Once Emma's out, I can finally bring in my own guy," he said lightly, laughing as Kyla, our creative director, shook her head. I froze. He kept talking. "She's not built for this pace," he added. "She cracks under pressure. I mean, you saw that client call." Kyla didn't respond. She just raised an eyebrow and took a sip of her drink. But she didn't defend me either. Not yet. The words hit me like a slow punch. Not the kind that knocks you out, but the kind that makes you realize you're already on the ground. I left quietly, walking past groups of coworkers who didn't notice me slip into the stairwell. My hands shook as I sat on the cold concrete step. The humiliation from the Zoom meeting, the whispers afterward, the promotion slipping away. Now this. I broke, not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet, exhausted crumble. And then, in the middle of wiping my face, I opened my phone to clear a notification. A project management alert. Someone had edited a brief. My breath caught, Because the timestamp showed something impossible. The brief had been changed by Mark hours after he assigned it to me. The exact brief that made me look incompetent on the Zoom call. For the first time, I saw a pattern forming. A real one that had a digital fingerprint. And in that stairwell, something inside me shifted, not anger, not revenge. Clarity. If Mark wanted to play games with systems and processes, he had forgotten one thing. Systems remember everything. I opened the audit logs, and what I saw confirmed this wasn't a one-time mistake. It was a map of every trap he had set for me, and every lie he thought he'd hidden. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open, the project management dashboard glowing in the dark. Every time I clicked a new audit log, another piece of the puzzle fell into place. Edited briefs, deleted attachments, reassigned tasks, quiet timeline changes that made me look late, careless, or unprepared. Mark hadn't just sabotaged one project. He had sabotaged almost every major campaign I'd managed in the past 6 months. I leaned closer to the screen, scrolling through timestamps, each one like a tiny confession. 2 days after assigning me a client scope, Mark edited the document and removed the updated requirements. 3 hours before a deliverable was due. Mark deleted the file that showed I had submitted the earlier version on time. 2 minutes after a Slack message from the creative team asked for clarity. Mark rewrote the task description just enough to make my work look off track. He wasn't sloppy, he was strategic. He knew the tools, he knew the system. He assumed nobody else checked the logs, but I did, because I had to. The next morning, I walked into the office feeling like a ghost, slipping through the noise of keyboards and muted conversations. People looked at me with that expression, polite, distant, as if I had become the department's cautionary tale. Jordan, the junior coordinator assigned to me, approached with hesitation. "Hey, Emma," he whispered. "Can I ask, did you actually miss that client update? Because I swear I saw Mark checking that email before the meeting." My heart stopped for a beat. Someone had noticed. "Jordan," I said slowly, "can you tell me exactly what you saw?" He fidgeted, lowering his voice even more. He opened the thread in his office. I remember because he said something like, "Perfect, timing couldn't be better." A chill ran down my spine. Perfect timing for him, not for me. Jordan hesitated, then added something I didn't expect. "And I've seen him remove you from CC lines, twice." I didn't react, not outwardly, but inside, a silent, controlled flame burned steady. I thanked him, told him his discretion meant everything, and walked toward my desk with a calm that didn't feel like mine. The kind of calm you find after drowning and suddenly realizing you can breathe underwater. That afternoon, I printed out every relevant audit log, every time-stamped email, every Slack thread, and every version history. I kept everything chronological, precise, airtight. Then I built what I later called the Project Autopsy. Not emotional, not angry, just facts. Layered, irrefutable, and devastating. Dates, times, what the project required, what Mark changed, what disappeared, and how each change created the appearance that I was the problem. I didn't rush. I didn't flinch. I treated it the same way I handled every campaign, methodically, meticulously, quietly. By the third night, my evidence folder was thicker than the promotion packet sitting untouched under my monitor. On the fourth day, I requested a meeting. I wrote the email carefully, the way someone walks across thin ice, slow, intentional steps that don't reveal how deep the water is below. Subject: Process Audit Discussion Attendees. HR Director Lucas Henderson. Creative Director Kyla Morris. Senior PM Mark Dalton. Project Coordinator Emma Rivera Purpose. Review workflow gaps and communication breakdowns on recent client campaigns. Propose process improvements to prevent future misalignments. Neutral, professional, unthreatening, I sent it. And the moment it left my outbox, I felt something settle in my chest. This wasn't a confrontation. It was a controlled demolition. Lucas, HR, replied first. "Thank you for initiating this, Emma. Added to my calendar." Kyla accepted without comment. Mark took longer. When his response finally arrived, it was short. "Sure. Let's clear the air." Clear the air. The phrase almost made me laugh. The meeting was set for Friday morning, a perfect time. People were tired by Fridays, less performative, less defensive. And Mark, who loved to dominate rooms, would assume it was another chance to assert control. He had no idea what was coming. On Thursday evening, I stayed late again, not because I had to, but because I wanted the office empty. The silence made it easier to think, to breathe, to line up every document with the precision of a surgeon. The glow of my desk lamp cast long shadows across the floor. Outside, the city lights smeared themselves across the windows, turning the office into a glass box floating above Chicago. I opened the binder labeled Project Autopsy and reviewed the first case study I would present. The same project from the disastrous Zoom meeting. Slide 1, original brief assigned to me. Slide 2, version history showing Mark's edits afterward. Slide 3, deleted attachment logs. Slide 4, email metadata proving the client update went only to him. Slide 5, Slack message chronology showing my team working off the outdated brief. Slide 6, final timestamp showing when Mark changed everything back, right before the call. Each slide was a quiet knife. And then, as I closed the binder, a strange clarity washed over me. This wasn't just about my promotion anymore. This was about every person who had been stepped on, overlooked, dismissed, or quietly erased because someone louder decided they deserved to win. And for the first time in weeks, maybe months, I felt steady. Calm before the storm. The next morning, the conference room was already half full when I arrived. Lucas looked neutral and composed. Kyla looked curious, leaning back in her chair. Mark wore that relaxed, confident expression, the one he used for rooms he believed he controlled. "Emma," he said brightly, "why don't you walk us through your thoughts?" His smile said he expected an apology, a confession of incompetence, a plea for guidance. Instead, I opened my binder to the first page and said, "I'd like to begin with the timeline of the Baker and Lowell campaign, specifically the scope change that occurred 48 hours before the client call." Mark's smile flickered, barely, but I caught it. I clicked the monitor remote, and the first slide appeared, a timestamp proving the brief had been altered after it was assigned to me. And as the room fell silent, Mark's entire posture changed. The room went still when the slide appeared. A simple timestamp, the kind usually ignored. But now it glowed on the screen like a spotlight with a single message. Someone had changed the brief after assigning it. I kept my voice steady. This version was assigned to me at 9:12 a.m. The update was added at 4:47 p.m. the same day. No notification was sent. No attachment was forwarded. Lucas leaned forward. Kyla's eyes narrowed. Mark shifted in his chair. I clicked again. "This shows the deleted attachment, the one containing the client's interim approvals, deleted 2 hours before the meeting." Another slide, another timestamp, another piece of quiet evidence. I didn't look at Mark yet. I wanted the facts to speak before I ever met his eyes. Slide after slide exposed the pattern. Edits made after deadlines, removed CC lines, altered task descriptions, version histories showing reversions right before deliverables. I laid everything out cleanly, clinically, the same way I built timelines for clients. "This isn't an isolated miscommunication," I said. "These actions occurred across 8 projects over 6 months. Kyla exhaled sharply. Lucas's expression turned unreadable. Only then did I turn to Mark. "Every mistake attributed to me followed a change made by you." For the first time since I met him, Mark didn't smile. He didn't joke. He didn't shift blame. He opened his mouth, closed it, then tried again. That's not intentional. You're reading the logs wrong. I was helping clean up loose ends." But Lucas raised a hand. "Mark, the audit trail is clear. These actions compromise workflow accuracy and create liability." Mark's face drained of its usual color. I continued, still calm. "I requested this meeting because I believed the department needed clearer processes. Now I realize the issue wasn't the process. It was interference." Silence, heavy and final. Lucas closed his notebook. "Emma, thank you. We'll begin a formal review effective immediately. Mark, until then, you're removed from all client accounts." Mark stared at me then, really stared, as if seeing me for the first time. Not invisible, not weak, not the easy target he thought I'd always be, just undeniable. The meeting ended. People left slowly. But when I stepped into the hallway, the air felt lighter, as if the office itself had been holding its breath. 2 weeks later, an email went out. Organizational update. Please join us in wishing Mark Dalton well as he pursues new opportunities. Everybody knew what that meant. 2 lines below that, another announcement. Congratulations to Emma Rivera, promoted to project manager for client operations. I sat at my new desk the following Monday, sunlight spilling across a clean slate of projects. Jordan knocked lightly on the doorframe. "Ready for the kickoff?" he asked. This time I led the room, and as I opened the meeting, I realized something simple and steady inside me. I had always been capable. I had always held this place together. I just finally stopped allowing someone else to rewrite the story.